Hello, hello, hello. All right, we're going to get started right now. Sorry, I was a couple minutes late, but um, nobody seems to be here right now anyway. So if you're watching this afterwards, what I'm doing is I'm going to be putting together my thoughts on the topic is um, voting should be mandatory. And this is if you find yourself assigned this topic in competition or in class, here's some ideas on how to put it together. I'm going to be using ChatGPT to put together some of my ideas and generate them really quickly for you as we go through it. And I'm also going to be kind of documenting the stuff that I have onto a Google document, a Sheets document specifically. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my window with my ChatGPT on it. ChatGPT just came out with GPT-4. So lucky you, I'm going to be using that one with you. All right, let me try to adjust this a little bit here. That's a little bit better so we can see a little bit more. I'm also going to be having I'm going to be documenting this on this Google Sheet. I'm going to rename this tab to be voting should be mandatory. Okay, so you get this topic, right? Now, this is like the approach I'm taking on this one is the limited preparation debate topics. So when you get this and you don't have a whole lot of time to get through it, what are some things that you can do? Okay, so we're going to have, so I'm going to document everything right here. The reason I'm doing this on Sheets is so I can keep notes on the different speeches. I'm going to have the one AC all in this one column right here. I'm even going to paint the column green. Okay. And what that is supposed to be is that when the negative constructive writes their arguments, I can flow their arguments, as we say. We can take notes and put them right next to it. But right now, we're just going to be focusing on the 1AC. So I'm going to be using that up right there. Okay. So you are given the topic that voting should be mandatory, right? Now, a lot of people want to start with that very first thing out of the mouth is going to be voting should be mandatory. I say don't do that. Instead, what you want to do, you know what? I'm not going to do that. So X, boom, boom. That still sucks. All right. Anyways, so what I start with is an attention getter. But let's get back to that afterwards, okay? So you have a nice little attention getter, then you get into the voting should be mandatory, and you always want to start with definitions. Okay? The first thing is going to be the type of definition. Now, not the type of definition, the type of resolution. You're going to define the type of resolution, okay? Now, typically, there is a distinction between policy, fact, or value. I put the policy first because that's the one that we're going to be doing, okay? So what this means is that if you look at this resolution by itself, voting should be mandatory. I should increase the font size a little bit here for everyone to see, okay? That voting should be mandatory. If that's your topic right there, that you want to say, okay, what type of topic is this? This is a policy topic. And what you could do is you follow that up with something is like it uses the word should in it, implies an action, all right? And you could say anything is like making anything mandatory requires enforcement. That also implies a policy. So you could keep on going with that, but really you only want to spend a couple of seconds on that very first section there. All right, so there's the type, and then we're going to define terms. Okay, so I'm maybe I should have maybe I'll have a little way to bullet point this thing out. Okay, so we're going to do terms. In fact, what I like to do instead of that, I like to to number them. All right. So one, the type, and then you have two subpoints. So subpoint two under this is all under definitions, right? So definitions are right here. Um, I'll even do it centered so you can see it. All right. So this is the definitions section of your speech. And then when you get to terms, stop that. You only want to define terms in the resolution. Okay. So only in the resolution. And what I mean by that is only these words right here. Voting should be mandatory. Those are the only words that should be the terms that you're doing. But you don't need to define every single word. You just need to define the important words, but only the important words that are in there. So I think like voting is one, and mandatory. Now you could define should be in terms of it's like it's not currently mandatory. So, but there you go. And this is where you can just come up with a definition. Now, this is where some people make some mistakes. Let's see what ChatGPT says. All right. So, okay. So what I'm going to do is imagine you are the affirmative in a debate on the topic. Boom. Um, Start the speech with an attention getter, then introduce the topic, then the definition section should include what type of resolution this is. I'm just going to say policy. And then define the terms voting and mandatory. See that? Look at that. A nice detailed. Okay, so imagine you're the affirmative in a debate on the topic voting should be mandatory. Start the speech with a detention getter and then introduce the topic and defense terms. All right. Define terms. The definition section should include what type of resolution this is, a policy, and then define the terms voting and mandatory. Let's see what happens. Hopefully that it's not going to take too long. All right. Let's not start with ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Okay, picture this, a vibrant democracy where every single voice is heard and every citizen actively participates in shaping the future of the nation. Imagine the power we would hold if we all came together and voted. Not bad, okay? It might be a little bit long. I'd cut back on that. To clarify the nature of this debate, we're going to be, today we are here to discuss it and from the notion that voting should be mandatory. Perfect. To clarify the nature of this debate, we're going to be dealing with a policy resolution. In this context, a policy resolution refers to a proposal of a specific course of action that should be implemented by a governing body. Okay, a little bit superfluous, a little bit more than you need. You're kind of wasting time. All right. Our proposal is that the voting should be made compulsory for all eligible citizens in order to strengthen our democracy. Not yet. Let's define some key terms. So I would cut back on that, right? Firstly, voting refers to the process by which eligible citizens express their preference for a particular candidate or party in election or their opinion on a specific issue through a ballot. Not bad. It operationalizes it. That's what we call operationalizing. Let's see here if we can get this a little bit bigger for you. Okay. So that's through a ballot, right? That's a nice keyword that you can use. Voting is a primary means by which that's extra. You like doesn't necessarily need it, right? Required by law or rules. In this case, mandatory voting would mean that eligible citizens are legally required to cast vote in election either by showing up in person, voting by mail, or utilizing other available means. Failure to do so could result in penalties such as fines or community service. Not bad. So I'm going to actually use this. Refers to just the process. And what I'm going to do is, I like that one. Voting but I don't like it like I don't need the or specific issue thing. I don't want the party one, just candidate. The process by which eligible citizens express their preference for a particular um, a candidate in election through a ballot. All right, and I like mandatory. I'm just going to do required by law, like that one. Look, I'm not overthinking this, right? Okay, so number 3. Um, now here's the thing that you could do that citizens express a preference for a particular candidate. Now look at the definition here that eligible citizens are legally required. Or no, that a particular eligible citizens express their preference for a particular candidate in election or their opinion on a specific issue. You know what that means? That means you could also, if you wanted to, you could define voting as um, what like your representatives in Congress do. They vote on issues. And so what I want you to think about is you could change this around. So instead of talking about like citizens voting in an election, you could talk about representatives voting in Congress and making it mandatory for them to vote in Congress. So uh, look at this. So the Washington Post, I don't know if it's going to be um, no, stop that. Okay. I don't think that one is the one, but uh, so what I'm pointing out here is that representatives vote for bills to become laws, and you could say um, uh, that they missed too many votes. Take a look. How many people? Like, here's a 2020 report card on. Is it senators? Yeah. Um, the votes missed by each of them, and so look at all these, and you could say it's like these people should be like they're missing more than half of their votes. Um, and so you could require them to vote. That's another way to make voting mandatory. That wouldn't that be a funny way to define things, right? And that, but my point is that it starts with the definitions. So I'm going to do this as our see what I'm saying? It's like, so if you wanted to, but I'm gonna kind of just go straight with this one, just kind of like not doing the weird different definitions of it where you could do that. I'm gonna just talk about uh my third one. Wait, where is it? Why did it do that? I like that. Okay. Is this oh, it's like weird on me. Here we go. So here we go. We have we started off with this is the type of resolution, and now we have the terms. We're going to say voting is a process by electing and be required by law. But remember, you could switch it up right there, right? And then you're going the number 3. You're going to offer your plan, okay? And so this is your plan text. Is that uh, similar to missing? Take a look at this. Registered, like I'm being kind of rough with this one. Registered citizens will be required to vote on election day or face consequences similar to missing jury duty. Now, this is being very strategic on my part, just to let you know. All right, jury duty is another one of these civil responsibilities where you could get punished if you don't do it. It is mandatory. You don't get to choose on it. Now, some people have found ways to get out of jury duty. Lucky them. That doesn't make it any less of a requirement. They are required to go in and ask for that exception, whereas right now elections aren't that way. So notice what I'm already doing is I'm using a model for enforcement that's already there. But you could add specifications, you could add details. You can say the U.S. will declare election day a national holiday to make you're gonna so you got to make you got to make election day a national holiday. So is one of them that and say that we're going to enforce it the same way we enforce jury duty. Now I think that there's like you get fined at first, but then if you repeatedly offend, then it could even be jail time. So yeah, you could you just explain that. Notice you're not making any arguments yet. You're just saying this is what my plan is, right? And then I also like putting this one: all ballots must, or you could say uh, voters need only. So it's like, what does it mean to vote? Do you have to like fill out every single one of them? No, it's just you just have to turn in a freaking ballot. Okay, it's like you have to turn in a ballot, even if the ballot's blank. All it has is your signature. Then you have voted, but you've declared that you don't care. Like I don't want to vote for anyone. Now, some people are thinking like, how do you? But why is that a good idea? That comes later. Okay, I'm going to explain that in a little bit. But right now, all you need to do is for this last bit, a criterion. We're just going to do net benefits. So all that means is that there are more advantages than disadvantages to this plan. All right, and there you go. That's the lowdown right there. All right. Now remember, you could always ask questions in the comments, especially if you're watching this live. I encourage you to ask questions if you want to. But what I'm pointing out here is these four parts are the four parts that I think all you need in the definition section. Remember, we start off with the detention getter, we go into the voting should be mandatory, and then we start with definitions. Okay. Now let's see what this is. So watch this. Now I have this outline. I'm going to go here. I'm just going to have it write a freaking script. Let me, and if it's a little short to read on you. See, look, I said write a script with this outline. I gave it the outline. All right. I'm going to stop generating. Um, I don't want to start with that. Rewrite. Don't start with that one. Esteemed judges, respected opponents. I love it. That's much better. Okay. See that? Okay. And so after you tell it not to, and fellow audience members, today we gather to address the pressing issue of mandatory voting. As we move forward, we will explore the benefits of implementing. There's not much of an intention getter there. Okay. That's not a script. They're just okay. The use of the word should in our resolution implies a call to action. Making anything mandatory requires enforcement to ensure compliance. Second, the terms, voting, the process by which eligible citizens express a preference for a particular candidate in election through ballot, mandatory, required by law. It's just regurgitating it back to me. Okay. Don't. So notice that ChatGPT doesn't really give you the right answers that you need right away. Oftentimes that you have to do several iterations and you got to read what's happening. And so it does help because I'm doing less work right now because I can talk to you while it's generating, but you still have to do plenty of work. Okay. Um, where's my cursor? Here we go. Okay. So all this is doing is taking like what I wrote and it's smoothing it out. It's making it better. Now take a look. ChatGPT kept on going. I'm going to let it keep on going. Okay. So it said, we outlined the benefits of mandatory voting, including increased political participation, better representation, and more informed electorate. That's perfectly fine. Okay. So, uh, now you see, like you've set it up, and ChatGPT is not going to do a very good job of defining things for you. Okay, like you have to take control of this debate. That there's going to be a number of different speeches after you, and you want to make sure that it's all lined up. This outline right here was not generated by ChatGPT, but now that it's generated, ChatGPT can start taking the lead. You can start using it to give you a little bit of brainstorming here. All right. So increased political participation. Okay, so this has problems. This has problems. It has like it's giving you good ideas, right? Better representation, more informed electorate. Not bad. So the first thing is like higher voter turnout. You have to, in a debate, you need to explain what the problems are. So I encourage everybody to take a look at the stock issues lesson that we have in our course. Okay. So this encourages for the democratic process. All right. So I'm going to uh, let's work on the turnout argument. Follow the stock issues organization and colon harms, inherency, solvency, and impacts. Okay. So you want to work the stock issues as your organization. It tells a story, specifically a policy story about where things are now, why they are that way, how the plan will solve, and then to what the impact is of that. So here we go. Harms. Notice it's not replacing your research for you. Okay. So harms is like we have low turnout. Inherency is why do we have low turnout? And it's doing a good job. Current voluntary voting system results in low turnout. See how the voluntary voting system is the problem and therefore mandatory voting is the solution? It's a nice way of leading up to it, but it's not complete. Okay. Mandatory voting increases overall turnout. A national holiday makes accessibility, enforcement such as fines and penalties. Yeah, okay. Okay, see now look at this advantage, the increased the higher turnout versus what this was before. Don't settle for the first results that you're getting. Okay, like Now you say, okay, I gotta like my professor is looking for stock issues. My professor is looking for a syllogism. My professor is looking for this organization. It's like work it then. All right. It's like start with that idea and then rework it. And now look, we have the harms and solvency impacts. That this is one advantage. Look, this advantage is going to take you at least 2 minutes to get through. So I would say rather than doing all three of these, that you work two of these. I like the better representation and increased political participation. So what do you do with the more informed electorate if you're not putting it into your first speech? You put it into your back pocket because this is a debate. It's not a single speech. It is a full debate. All right. And this type of debate, IPDA debate, you have a 5 minute speech, but it is a 25-minute debate. You have to have more material later on. You have to be able to refute your opponents. You have to be able to rebut their arguments and rebuild your own. So make sure you have more information than you need. Prepare arguments that you might not make. Okay. And so that's one of them. So we're going to do that one. But I still want to make this higher voter turnout even better than it is. I don't think the story is doing well enough. I think that there's other arguments that I could preempt, that I could get ahead of. Okay. So one thing is let's start introducing sources. So rewrite with examples and source citations. Okay. The other thing I want to do is um, focus inherency on cases of misinformation to vote about election day and locations. Cases of intentional. Okay, rewrite with examples and source citations. Focus inherency on cases of intentional misinformation to voters about election day and locations. So part of this is me being able to recall some stories about how there are groups that purposely send out misinformation about when election day is or where their location is. And the reason they do that is because they send it to specific neighborhoods of people that they don't want voting. And so when we look at low voter turnout, and you say, oh, well, those people just don't want to vote. You're like, not necessarily. They may have been misinformed. They may have been, there's other ways and other reasons why people don't vote, not necessarily because they don't want to. And this argument is a way of addressing that before you get to, before your opponent gets to. So you get straight to it. Yeah, here we go. Robocalls in Maryland in 2010 telling Democratic voters to stay home as their candidates had already won. Okay. And so now what you have to do is you have to go and double check. I'm going to do that as soon as it stops generating it. So that's the story that I wanted to go for. All right. You can talk about political engagement, but look at this. This argument beats back the argument that you may be thinking beforehand. It's kind of like, well, you shouldn't have to make voters. What if they don't want to vote? It's like, it's fine if you don't want to vote. But the reasons people don't vote isn't always necessarily because they don't want to. It may be because they were misinformed, that their votes were taken from them. And we should be fighting against that. Okay. And so that one is pretty good. So I'm going to do robocalls in Maryland. Take a look at this. Let's see where. Robocalls in Maryland, and I'm gonna just put in the name of the. There we go. Nope. See, look, like I'm trying to find this. Trying to find the source, and I can't. So this is actually something I was hoping would happen, was that they're trying to like say this is a source. I'm like, okay, but you have to double check it, because look, I'm trying to find it and it's not coming up immediately. So I'm going to say must include fair and hold. Uh-huh. Oh, look, here we go. Down here, do they have here we go. Washington Post. Nice. So that one, if I open it up in another tab, we can't find the page that you're looking for. Stumped us. I think they might just be making it up. Julius Henson found guilty in robocall case. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look up that up. All right, there we go. So now I'm not necessarily. So you could just, here we go. Baltimore Sun. Maybe not. Where did it go? All right. So now I found a source, a real source, right? An actual legitimate source that talks about that specify that gives me the evidence that I need. Notice it's not the evidence that ChatGPT said was out there, but it gave me enough information that I was able to find something real. Okay, and now I could use that. Not only that, but I have all of this I have all of this information here. It's like low voter turnout undermines the democratic process. Maybe I will use that, maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just kind of make the argument and I'll kind of reason it out. All right. Because none of these like can be necessarily proven. This one I might want to look up that one, that third one. But see, like the current voluntary system results in low voter turnout. Midterm elections in 2014 was only 36%. That's not bad, but you got to double check that because as I showed you with this one right there, it's like it's not reliable. Okay, intentional misinformation looks like this Maryland 2010 case is true, but not necessarily from that particular source. We found this source, and we can if you wanted to double check it even further, you could look up the case specifically, and then and then you can have. Look, Australia, this is great. Also, Australia has mandatory voting. Like, it's a democracy. It has mandatory voting. It's not a totalitarian dictatorship, right? And they have 90% plus turnout. See that? The impacts, so this is just saying the plan will work. We have reasons to believe it will work. Australia gives us reason to believe that it will work. Okay. The impacts are like, why is that good? Why is that a benefit? Because remember, our criterion is net benefits, right? So now you say this will work, and why is it? Because it increases legitimacy for elected representatives. It reflects the will of the majority more, and it encourages political awareness. That's what all this does. So, you know what? I haven't tried to paste this into a. Gonna close that one off by itself. Boom. Oh, not bad. Not bad. Okay. So what I might do, oh, no, not good. It did not turn out good. Yeah. Oh, regardless, I got it there. Okay. So what I might do is just wrap this format, wrapping, wrap. There we go. Okay. So that's under format wrapping. So rather than it just keep on running off the end of the page, it can it folds over on itself. All right. And I'm going to do this just like that a bit, and then we'll go back to here. Okay. Sweet. So look at that. We have one advantage, but like now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and I'm going to double check and make sure this Leahy and Nagler evidence is right. I like to represent strong man. I don't like the mandate argument. So you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to erase it. Oh my God, I did that. Yes, you can just you want more information than you need. Okay, so it undermines the democratic process, disproportionate influence. Wait, where's the? Look, here's another thing. What I'm noticing here is that, screw that. Okay. I think that this number one, the US midterm elections, like this is information that I kind of want in the first point. So I'm going to actually move that to the body point one here. I like that better. And then we're going to make that 2, and then we're going to make that 3. Okay. Maybe I'll even remove number 3. I don't care. But now I have enough information. It's like, but this is still just an outline form, everybody. Like you got to work out your own. Then you have to turn it into an actual a script. So like what words are you going to use? It's really choppy in outline form. All right. So I'm I'm going to leave it at that first advantage and just count on you to apply that same thing to a second advantage. When I mean a second advantage is like that one is about voter turnout, and we had another advantage up here about representation. Okay, so voter turnout is one thing, representation is another. Both of them are advantages to mandatory voting. I've worked this one enough where you have um, not bad. Like I don't know if you know, but these don't sound like real sources. They don't like I would be doubting their legitimacy just upon hearing it, right? I don't know who the hell Farenthold is. You don't explain who they are, right? And it turns out that that's like not a legit source anyway. So if you think that you can just kind of like get up there and say this and nobody's going to catch it, it's like there not everyone will catch it, but with a large enough audience, enough of them will. All right. So you got to do the work on the research end of it. ChatGPT is not a good researcher. It's really great for brainstorming. It's really great for organizing. It's really great for like finding wording for stuff like that, but it doesn't do your research for you. You still have to open up another tab. You have to look up newspapers. You have to go to databases. You still have to find the legitimate sources, and you have to go back and you have to edit this. Okay. So, IDEA is a debate organization. Like I know that. If you cited IDEA in front of me, I'm like, why? Uh, IDEA did their own research on Belgium and Australian thing. Like it doesn't sound like that's their MO. But look, it like it has really good stuff, right? And that's just one advantage. Imagine doing it with for a second advantage. Let's take a look. And so however many, like I'm looking at that, I could tell you right now that that'll probably get you about 2 or 3 minutes. You do another advantage at the same level of detail. Make sure you research for cry. I can't emphasize that enough. All right, you have to go through and like and check this out. Like, let me do another example. All right, Leahy Nagler, and I'm going to do. Watch this. Voter turnout. Here we go. Let's go up to the. Oh, see, look, it didn't get through all the references the first time. I didn't notice that. Look, see how it has that bullet point and it didn't finish it. It ended on I. So like we'd have to it would have to keep on writing. You'd have to prompt it to keep on writing to go down to L in order to complete it. But it looks like there is authors Leahy and Nagler. I'm going to go to Princeton, see what. Yeah, it looks like that's the same. Yeah, I guess it's a book. Yeah, look at that, ISBN. All right. So you would have to you have to do you have to do the reading now. You have to find an excerpt from this book that is the excerpt that you need. And you might be able to find some of those excerpts online, but you might have to go to, if you want to cite this book, you have to read the information. You have to open it up. So maybe that's just going to the library and they have it. Okay. So it looks like maybe if you're at Princeton, they might have this book in the library. But there's a bunch of, like, if there's an ebook option, I'm wondering if your library has access to the ebook option. Okay. But that means that, like, what you can do though is you can go to the library with a list of sources just to validate it and make sure that it's going for it. Rather than trying to find the sources while you are there, you already come with a list of sources ready to go and just say, hey, I need to verify that these sources are legit. And I promise you that that is not as hard a chore as it used to be. Right, when you like go into the library for hours and hours and hours on research, you can knock that out in no time at all. You're just kind of verifying that your information is accurate. But look at all the information that we've been able to do in 40 minutes. All right, we've been able to generate an excellent first advantage. Right, we have, don't forget, like, so this one, like you could copy this one, and you can, let's say we wanted to do a new, no, I don't want to say we're going to do a new document, huh? There we go. But this one doesn't have my definition, so I want to go back up and get the definitions. Boom. Oh, I don't need. I'll edit that later. Right. Let's take a look at the what can I, word count. 692, not bad. So at 100, like 150 to maybe like 150 words a minute is a nice, relaxed conversational tone, right? So that means 750 words is your limit. This one, you got to cut back on the first advantage. You got to trim it down, and then make a second advantage, and then you're at 750 words. You're perfectly fine. See that? So, okay. Okay. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for something with, lay out some definitions, explain yourself, define some terms, and then explain advantages to the plan. That's what judges typically look for. That's what you should be looking for. All right. I'll have a few more of these in a series. We're going to have 5 topics total, all revolving around election laws and rights, about and how to create a first affirmative. I'll see you then. Okay. All right. Let's see what we got.